Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Robert Phoenix, and I am back on the case after a bit of a hiccup that occurred yesterday as the big vote was being held here across the state of Texas and primarily for me in the city of Fredericksburg, which I reside. And I tried to go out and do a live remote, and it was just not happening yesterday. Typical Mercury retrograde sort of day, and very interesting stories to tell from the election front, as it were. So the big news is, of course, we had a an election that we worked very hard at to get fluoride removed to stop fluoridation from our water supply here in Texas and Fredericksburg. And this all started back in July of 2018, and we've been at this now for 16 months. And a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money was put into this, and we worked our asses off and took a lot of just human power to uh, uh, get this thing on the ballot and then hopefully voted in so that we wouldn't have to drink fluoride anymore. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and we lost yesterday. And it's always an interesting kind of mindset or interesting um, reality that a person has to deal with when they're in a situation like this. I don't know how many of you have actually been a part of an election, and I'm sure probably more than I realize. Right? I'm just making room for the man. Come on, let's go. It's the Astro Cat. Anyway, there's always this sense of what happens. Well, for me, it was like, well, what happens if we lose? And I had to get into my mindset around how is this going to affect me? How's it going to affect my mood? And so, kind of where I was last night as the day was ending, I was kind of just by myself thinking about all the effort and all the time that we put into this. And I guess what came to my awareness, my consciousness was that uh, we did something that hopefully will inspire other people. A lot of the ad buys that we did on Facebook were went viral. They went to other countries, other states, and we brought a lot of awareness to the fluoride issue here in town and also in other parts of the world. So I think there's a small victory to be had there. And just from that perspective, it was, I think, worthwhile. We may have lost this battle, but the war on fluoride and the war on kind of this egregore lockdown mind control mindset is, it's on. I'm certainly not throwing in the towel at any level, and nor would I throw it in at any level. But I will have to say it is a bit disheartening to have to deal with the results, and we had an election and informed consent, and apparently there were 1,200 people in the city of Fredericksburg that want to have poison in their water. Now that said, there are a few things that happened along the way that were very unusual. First of all, we were always hassled and harassed when we went down to where they were doing the early voting. As I mentioned before, Jeanette, who's been really at the heart of this thing. You guys kind of saw her a little bit yesterday on Facebook because I was able to do a couple of Facebook lives. She was down early voting, and every day was doing her best to get people to understand what the process was with the vote and with also with fluoride, right? Because it was a tricky vote. Yes was stop it. No was you want to keep it. It's one of those crazy, weird political things, and who knows how many votes got swung in that direction. We don't know, nor will we know at this point. So there was that, and also there was the educational piece about, hey, do you know why you're going to make that vote? And it's all perfectly legal. People can do that here. So what happened was is that on multiple occasions um, they called the police on Jeanette at least four times. That the cops had to come down there and actually you know, deal with her. And it was borderline harassment. And one of the cops was actually pretty cool, but it's a bit of overkill. They did, you know, pardon me here. Hold on one second. They didn't have to visit her four times, and she's the most kind of mild mannered person you'll ever meet. So that was happening at the onset, and that was we had to really push against it. That's the forces of gravity, right? The forces of kind of this Saturnian compression that we all deal with on this planet. So that that apparently that bled over into last night, and we had people there watching the results, which and if you are involved in any election, it's important that you have people that are there witnessing what takes place inside of the tabulation area. So last night there were a number of irregularities because we had four people there that Jeanette talked about. One of which was there was a lot going on with the voter polls. I'm sorry, there was a lot going on with people that were going in and out of the actual counting of the vote. And by law, they're not supposed to. Like once you're in, you're in. You can't leave. And there were a couple of occasions where that did happen. They went to the vault, and so that was unusual and strange. And Jeanette tried to get, by law, she is able to get things like the absentee ballot tabulation and count, and also the early voter, which is really what we wanted to find out. And they were not giving that to her. So there were a couple of things that were unusual in terms of just the regular due process that weren't really followed there. So, again, I don't know what's going to happen or what we can do about it, if there's anything, but it's not a good election, or it's not a real election unless there's something kind of fishy going on. And then the really weird thing was that the election results they were delayed by 12 hours, and it's a typical kind of Mercury retrograde scenario where I would think that something like that would not be uncommon. But it was unusual. Everybody was waiting around. And anytime you have to wait for something, especially when it comes to elections, people get very antsy and they get suspicious. So people thought that it was a local issue. Apparently, it was a statewide issue. So again, I have no insider commentary around that, except that it was either Mercury retrograde or they were making sure that a lot of the right votes went into the right place. And what's interesting is that Texas apparently has one of the better systems when it comes to voting, and one of the apparently least corrupt, although we do know that there is voter corruption and it's rampant here. Think about that. That's one of the least corrupt. Just a very strange time, strange kind of vibe. The vibe is strange. And I woke up yesterday feeling like we had a puncher's chance. And we, with all the exit polls, people would come up to us and they would say, yeah, we voted yes and thumbs up. And, so we thought, based on a lot of the feedback we were getting from people, that we actually had a really good shot at this. And I'm really surprised, to be frank, that we were at a 2-1 margin on this. Like, it wasn't even close. And that was really not kind of the vibe that I was getting from people in general. And I want to share a conversation that I did have with somebody yesterday. It was quite good. And the conversation was that there was this young woman. She rolled in, and by the polls, and some precinct rather, waving, thumbs up, all that stuff. She rolls in. You can tell she's got a bright face. You can tell when people are kind of switched on because they have bright faces. So she rolls in. She casts her vote, and then she's on her way out. She rolls her window down. We have this conversation, and she wanted to know if I was really involved with like the signage. And I said, yeah, I've been part of this campaign from day one and worked really hard. And So then she went on to talk about, well, this is great. Thank you for doing this. I came from Houston. We've tried for quite a while to get the fluoride out. It's very, very difficult, especially in a big city like that. And then she says, thank you for your effort. And she says, I'm an environmental scientist and this stuff is crap. It's crap for your brain. And I'm like, wow. Then she said, not only that, but not only do we have to be careful what we have in our water, but also what we have in our skies. And I'm like, okay, so now we're going to talk about chemtrails, and we got into a chemtrail discussion. So we just went down the rabbit hole really quickly, and it was a really interesting conversation, and one of those conversations that kind of gives you hope. Like, wow, okay, there's a switched on person living in this town, and we just had a moment, and hopefully we'll have more moments. And I think that maybe this is the beginning of something. Hopefully, and again, I don't know how long I'm going to be. I never know how long I'm going to be in a certain place, but as long as I'm here, I'll do my best to make the best of it. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting day. We had a couple of Mercury retrograde experiences down at the precinct. One guy's truck wouldn't start, and he looked like kind of a fluoride voter. I wasn't really that wasn't really that bummed for him, but his truck stalled, and then one of the people that voted to take the fluoride out, this old gal, she was a trip, man. She had a Prius, and she got jacked up on a curb and couldn't get it off the curb, so she actually had to call a tow truck to get her off the curb. So Mercury retrograde was in effect at the precinct, and who knows? Maybe Jasper, you need to get off this because you're gonna hear it now because you're gonna mess with my volume, my audio. You always do that. So the election did happen during the Mercury retrograde, so possibly there could be something that may show up um, after the fact. We'll see. We'll see. There may be whispers, there may be rumors, but the whole thing, there was a lot of other kind of high strange that that kind of crept into sort of the whole process. Like, so there's this gal who has a shop around the corner from where I live, and she does hair, and they have some infusion stuff, and they have cryo spa, and it's a pretty cool place. And I've done a couple of readings for her, and I did an open house, and her name is Lauren. So I was somebody took a picture with me and Lauren, and I thought it was a really good picture, so I put it on my about page on my website. Didn't think a whole lot of it, right? It's a good picture. So then apparently Lauren had a couple of our vote yes to stop fluoridation signs in her business. And a guy who is in charge of all like the city operations and stuff like that, he went directly to her place and said, you can't have these signs in your business. Like, what's that about? You know, what's that about? I'm like, okay, well, that's her business and it's literally her business. Then he goes on to say and ask her, this is where it gets really weird. He said, did you know that Robert Phoenix has a picture of you on his website? And when I heard that, I'm like, why is the the manager of operations or whatever his title is going to my website and looking at my website and who I have pictures with? I'm like, this is bizarre. And he said he's using you. I'm like, this is nuts, man. This is totally nuts. And she said, well, I probably have a picture of him on my Facebook page. So what? And this woman's an Aries. Somebody's going to tell her what to do. And anyway, it's just really weird. It gave me some insight into um, kind of the mindset or the mind behind the local politics scene, which is really based largely on fear in a lot of ways. So that happened, and it was very unusual and unfortunate or strange, just strange shit, right? Just strange. Then, same person tells me a story about they were watching the Leo King, and the Leo King had his. I wonder if I could find it. me see if I can find this. I think I can. Give me a second. Give me a second here. I'm going to find this thing. So he was doing something. I guess he does like a daily forecast or something like that. I've never been fond of this persona. Deep Love Weekly Tarot, November, plus all zodiac signs. It's a long show. I guess this is long form. Does he do tarot readings now too? Apparently so. High Vibe TV, whatever. What is this? Who's he on there with? Some long-haired dude. Very sage-looking guy. Anyway, the Leo King got on there and was talking about elections. And he was talking about fluoride. And he said, let's see, who do we have here on his website? He's in a mood today. Let me see this. Hold on a second. Yeah.
We had a shadow Tuesday, and I know because of all this Capricorn, and I know because we're in Scorpio, the Mercury retrograde in your sixth house, that your reality is shifting madly. And are you sure about what you're doing? We need to look at the challenge. Challenge card. Yeah, oh gosh. 7 of Cups reversed. The challenge here is that you're not looking around at other options. You're too fixated, and you're willing to mutate into anything. If somebody tells you to fucking cut your arm off and fucking put on a fucking alien arm to be in this relationship, I'm in.
This guy's insane. Not in a good way either. Anyway, he had a major kind of diss on fluoride. A major diss on fluoride. It was interesting. It almost felt just a tad personal on some level. Anyway, it was a strange day yesterday. Very, very strange day. Odd day. Odd day with the Mercury retrograde. The moon went void of course for a while, and it was in Pisces at the time the election results, or at the time that the precincts closed, and I really thought we had a good shot. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see where this thing goes. I don't regret any moment of time that I spent, doing this. I put a lot of effort, a lot of energy. So did a lot of the people involved with this, and it brought us closer. And I got to know some really great people. And if I had to do all over again, I would do it all over again. I would put the same amount of time, maybe more time, maybe more effort, knowing that perhaps a few more days here or there, a few more hours spent here or there could have maybe swung our vote. But I regret none of it. And it's been a really remarkable and profound experience. So let me just check in with you guys and see where you're at. Let's see. I went to the zoo and saw a lot of snakes yesterday. LA Zoo. Oh, that's the wrong person. It's the wrong cast. Hold on. Yes, Jasper. I know. Let's see. Fear and shame, government specialties. I was attacked by someone on Facebook when I commented on the vaccine issue. But he said, thankfully, people like you are in the dwindling minority. Extinctions on the horizon for your people. And I couldn't be more gleeful about it. JP, what they're not considering is the planet decides extinction, not them. That's a great point, Ani. What else? Robert, you don't know the effect you all did. Why, Steve, it's true. I can't, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm a little disappointed. I'd really much rather be in a, really positive, optimistic, happy place and feeling like, okay, we just, another domino fell and we're kind of moving in a really positive direction. I'd really like that, but that's not the reality. And last night, I was just really trying to reconcile myself with the moment where what happens if we don't win. And it's and I did my best to kind of, get there, right, without completely giving up the ghost. So, yeah, and that's true. We don't know how this is going to affect other people or impact other people. And this is a long game. It's not like, okay, the game is over now. This is a long drawn out conflict. And, up, they probably won't have another election here anytime soon to remove the fluoride. Maybe, because they tried this before and they weren't successful. And it wasn't, I'm not sure if it was election, but they tried to get it to a point where they could basically bend the ears of the city council, and that didn't really work. Didn't really happen. So, and that was a while ago, and maybe sometime again before it's able to take hold and take place. In the meantime, on a bigger picture, there's a chance that fluoride itself might actually be eradicated from the entire water supply because the EPA is looking at potential lawsuits. So that's kind of also buzzing in the background. And if indeed that's the case, then there's nothing that the dentists or the ADA can really do about it. They can cry all they want, and it's not going to matter much. Let's see what else we have going on here. Let's see. It was you affected things by your presence. Let's see. The reality right now is that it sucks. I'm not exactly known for my Trumpian optimism. Diana Young dancing. Okay. I have Mars and Aries. I would have punched him in the face. Ha ha ha. My 5 years involved in our Florida wars was very eye opening. Government is not your friend. It's true. It's true. They are not on, they do not want to have people usurp their power and control. They just don't. That's not their thing. They will do everything in their power in order to maintain their power, even at a small local level. So looking at what San Marcos did and looking at what Buda did, and looking at what Kyle did, in retrospect, it's like, wow, it's really special, like really something that they were able to do this. Now, Sam and his people were involved for 2 years. They're involved for 2 years on the front lines of getting this thing done. It took them 2 years. We fast tracked this and we did it in 14 months or 16 months. And at least, we got to the to the starting line, and we got to the finish line, and we came in second. So my sense is that there's going to be more to be seen here. There's going to be more to be seen here, more to deal with. Let's see what else we have let's see. All right. Most people are apathetic and complacent in Houston. Looks like Anna. Looks like you've got your mayor again, right? You got your mayor again. So how did Derek do? Did he? What was his voting tally? Anna was really supportive of Derek Rose, who is he's kind of on our side, right? I mean, I hate to say it like he's one of us, but the fact of the matter is that it's true. Is that there are people that have certain values and certain things going on right now. Whoops, hold on. So, but yeah, Derek, a lot of the same values around the environment and fluoride and 5G, things like that. So, but I saw that the incumbent mayor, who's really unimpressive, won again. So let's see, what do we have here? Steve, you definitely made it down. I hope so. I hope so. Let's see what else we have here. It was rigged. I would not be. Look, I'm trying my best, right, to not don my conspiratorial hat here, which is really easy for me to do. But I would say that there is a possibility that we were dealing with unnatural forces. The whole thing at the voting was weird. It was very weird because they were leaving and going back, and they're supposedly not supposed to actually leave. Once they're in, right? I got to say this one this one story. So we're at the precinct, which is not far from my place, and they have these coffee cans that are filled with cement, and they have a sign on them that says, "You've got to be on the other side of this if you're going to wear a shirt or you're going to slogan electioneer or whatever those things are." So we had our signs out there. We're, waving, talking to people. And all of a sudden, the precinct captain or the election captain, whoever this person is, hired by the city, comes out. And let's just say she was not necessarily attired in the most, well, how do I say this in a uh, conscious way? Uh, this is a person that did not take good care of themselves. All right, they did not take good care of themselves, weight wise, image wise. I mean, just you could tell low self esteem, very low self esteem, and they're the ones that are going to be basically determining where we can stand and all that. And wearing kind of this vest baseball jersey thing with the number 3 in the back and like where the name for the player is. The name was what do I know? What do I know? It was just like it was weird. What do I know? And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, just from a symbolic standpoint, you don't know shit. So then she comes out and she says, well, you got to be over here. You got to be over here. You got to be over here. It's going to be 100 feet. I'm like, okay, well, where's your 100 feet? Where's 100 feet? And she walks it off with her feet. That's not a real valid assessment of what 100 feet is. If you're going to split a hair and tell us that we can't be on a certain area, then you better come out and bring a tape, a measuring tape. Bring a measuring tape. So she doesn't even have a 100-foot measuring tape. She's got a measuring tape that measures like 2 feet at a time or 3 feet at a time. And so she's doing 3 feet and trying to, I mean, you got to be kidding me. And we're sitting here doing this dance with this person for about a half hour, 45 minutes. Like, don't you have something fucking better to do? Or maybe if you show up, you should have your tape measure. Like, that's 100 feet. Wouldn't that be a good thing? So finally, she gets a tape measure after all this uh, officious behavior. And next thing you know, she's like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. All this bullshit, right? You're fine. You're fine. So, uh, just a snapshot, just kind of and then it began to dawn on me that a lot of times people are I believe, hired for their incompetence when it comes to government and civic structures, because of the fact that they're incompetent, that the structures then are allowed to somehow continue to operate at a low level because they don't want to be efficient, they don't want to be smart, they don't want to have people that are really dedicated to what they're doing. They're not really bringing in the best. And yesterday was kind of a clear example of that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Flora is the start of my eyes opening. She's an organic portal, Robert. This is what they do. I know, right? Let's see, like the cops nowadays. Steve says, in general, local councils have to be on the take to roll out to be happening the way it is. So feels, yeah, I would agree with that. Petty tyrants, definitely petty tyrants. Yes, indeed. Let's see, who else do we have here? Hey, Natasha, what's going on? Delays equal fraud in voting. Usually that's the case. What's going on, Stephen? Nice to see you. Yeah, usually that's the case. So anyway, I'll keep you posted. If anything else happens or comes up, or I hear anything strange about the whole event, I'll let you know. It is what it is. We put up a good fight, and then hopefully, yeah, it will be something bigger. It will accumulate to something bigger, and that was my mindset last night. So I wanted to go from the local to the global, and I don't have a lot of time today because I got some election stuff I got to take care of still. But the big story is the story from Veritas with the ABC News morning anchor. What's her name? Roblox. Deborah Roblox. Is that her name? I don't know if you've seen it yet. If you haven't seen it, you're probably living under a block or a rock. But the latest Project Veritas is quite interesting for a number of different things. Number one, it gives us some real insight as to what's happening behind the scenes with broadcast news, and we've known this for a while now. And that broadcast news is a filter. It's a total filter for whatever the CIA, for the most part, NSA, secondarily, want to be able to promote and share with the masses, right? Shove down our throats. So the big story from Veritas is this: Deborah Roblox has the the inside scoop on Epstein. Had the inside scoop on Epstein for years, like 3 years ago. She knew all about Epstein. She had Virginia Roberts Giuffre, all her testimony. She had all the names. She mentions Clinton, by the way. Mentions, I mean, just all the dirt is there. She said, we had him, we had him, we had it. We had it 3 years ago. And then she goes on to say that there was a lot of pressure from the royal family. And the royal family was like, you better lay off of Andrew. Because if you don't lay off Andrew, you're not going to get the exclusive interview with Will and Kate. I mean, who the fuck cares about Will and Kate? Who the fuck cares about these people? You know? Who cares about Will and Kate? You're not going to get these. Who cares? Like, when was the last time any of them said anything relevant? So, and by the way, we're not England. We're the United States of fucking America. And we don't care about that shit. You know, our royalty are celebrities. They're not real royalty, but we don't care about the royalty. At least I don't. It's not been a big deal here. We fought a war a long time ago to divest ourselves from the so-called royalty. Now, if that's really the case, that's a whole nother show unto itself. But what was interesting about that interview is that it's just like, truth, 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 truth. And then at the end, she says, well, and now he's dead. And she says that I don't believe that he was, and now he's murdered. That's what she says. Now, that's a really interesting statement because Michael Baden, who is the coroner, who, of course, I don't know how old this guy, when did he start doing autopsies at the age of 15? Was he like Doogie Howser, the Doogie Howser of autopsies? Anyway, this guy's still around, and he looked at apparently the Epstein stuff and says, "Oh yeah, this is not consistent with somebody committed suicide. He was killed." So now we have Michael Baden coming out and saying that. And then we have this producer for ABC News, or the host for the Good Morning America show on ABC News. So what is really going on here? So we're getting a lot of truth from that little snippet, that little leak. And we're also getting this piece of information that he was murdered. Well, was he really murdered? I still have my doubts. But now we have two sources that are confirming that he was murdered. Right, the Baden guy. And then we have this TV news persona, the morning news persona. So we're getting some very interesting information. And this is what people are going to be talking about now for the next news cycle is how ABC, which also, by the way, was the network that provided the footage of the Kentucky night shoot and said that it was happening in northern Syria. So now this is two major black eyes on the face of ABC. So people are going to be talking about this, but the key thing to hear that you want to really just kind of wrap around your head is that they're getting what appears to be a lot of revelation and truth around what they had. They had it. They had it. And they're dropping in this piece of information that he's murdered. You just got to be careful here. And I know we want to wrap our arms around this and say, yeah, see, right? This is it. The truth is coming out. It is coming out. But it's not always coming out in a way that I think is completely completely undistilled, right? Like raw, or or the distillation. It's not coming out with this distilled truth. We're getting the undistilled version, which is the dross. We're getting some dross in there, which is part of the revelation of the method. They'll give you some stuff, and they'll give you a few little goodies, and then they'll throw something else in, so that they can kind of either move you off the line or get you to think about things differently, or begin a new narrative. So now the new narrative is that Epstein is dead. He's murdered. Now we have a new conspiracy on our hands. But is that really the right conspiracy? I'm not so sure, because I don't think he's dead, and I don't think he was murdered. I think he's out there running around. I think he's on the loose. And but it's a very interesting, about 3.5 minutes. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And just be careful that you're not glomming onto the whole thing as a manifestation of truth, because I have some doubts. All right, what do we have here? Disney. And why does this come out now? Timing is everything. That's right, Uncle Glenn. Michael, I'm not buying it. Yep. Or is it like the end of Murder by Death? Was anyone murdered? Yes. Killed Good Weekend. That's Stephen Chris. ABC is Disney-owned news outlet. Prince Harry wants to live the remainder of his life in South Africa. The anchor came across so much smarter in the Project Veritas lead does. I think that's probably how a lot of these people are wired. They're probably very smart, and they have to kind of dumb things down a little bit. That's my sense. What else? I don't understand why the English people put up with that, because they're programmed. I say Epstein is tucked away, similarly to Seth Rich. Yes. Another Veritas will come out today with ABC executive. We'll see. See what happens, right? Right? Oh my God, to think that Epstein's still alive. Yes, her job was to end the rumors. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have to be really, it's like we have to think 2, 3 steps ahead sometimes, and everything is not as it seems, especially when it's that out in the open. So yeah, we're getting some truth around that, but I think it's, again, a kind of this tertiary reaffirmation that Epstein is supposedly dead. I don't think he is. All right, what else do we have here? I've been watching a lot of Alex Collier, resonating with a lot of his talks. We must rise up and claim who we are. We are one race together. We are being given baby bites of truth. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I totally agree. But we are, I mean, we are rising up, right? We are, I mean, we get together and we are putting our shoulders to the forces of gravity, which is what we did for the last 16 months here, in doing our best to eradicate this place, this town, of a toxin, of a neurotoxin that's in our water and affecting and damaging the people that live here in this town. So, but I'm not defeated. I'm not down, right? I'm not. And it's a moment in time where we are just kind of recalibrating and recouping, and it's not done. The story's not done. Today there may be been a victory for fluoride in the forces of Fredericksburg, Texas, but the story's not over, and it's certainly not over with me. All right, what else do we have here? Da, 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 da. Let's see. Hopefully, the lady with the Veritas tattoo, who is my last major lead, that's the Veritas. I miss. Anyone know who Phil McConnell is? I do know Phil McConnell. He was arrested yesterday. Really? Wow. Is that true? If that's true, that's getting a little too close to the truth there, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Epstein is in a bunker under Israel. I think Epstein is somewhere in South America. Isn't it dangerous for Baden to go against the official story? No, not if the official story is going to be turned on its head. What they want is they want him dead. They want him dead, right? They just want him dead. If there's some kind of indication that he may not be dead, then of course they'll come in and they'll have their fixer make him dead. So now we have two sources that say he was murdered. Okay, so he was murdered, and by who? So now we're down another rabbit hole, and that's the wrong rabbit hole. It's the wrong rabbit hole. You see, now they're sending us down to who killed Epstein. Now we're going to, oh, it's the Clintons. Oh, it's no, he's probably still alive. You're more likely in South America. That's that because that's where Ghislaine Maxwell is. She's in South America right now. All right, what else do we have here? Arrested on felony charges in Wisconsin. Oh boy, being extradited to Broward. Whoa boy, how about that? Interesting. Yeah, interesting. She supports the view that it's over. We're talking about Deborah Roeblock and move on. That's right. That's right. And we know how great we've been at uncovering strange and mysterious deaths and the actual culprit and perpetrator. I mean, look at this. Look at the history of strange and unusual deaths in this country. When have we really found the person who was supposedly the real trigger person? It's almost impossible. Impossible. Whether it's JFK or RFK or MLK, very, very, very difficult to find who the real culprit has been, and plenty of conjecture and plenty of conspiratorial evidence on many levels. This doesn't come out, so there's probably not going to be a whole lot different than it's not be a lot different than with Epstein, unless of course, they want it to come out. In which case, there'll be a patsy somewhere. There's always a patsy lined up and ready to go. So really interesting about Phil McConnell. I'm sure there'll be people that are going to be looking into that. Unusual. Yesterday, I went deaf in my right ear and felt jabs of pain on my right side, low pitch frequencies, which hurt. Did anyone else experience this at all? Oh, wow, no, but um, no, I didn't feel that. But I have had like yesterday. I had some weird stuff going on with my heart, like strange fluttering, weird stuff, which I'd never experienced before. Not fluttering like falling in love, weird, that kind of weird. What Steve would have to say, he says, in Field McConnell, there's a big smoke and mirrors game, a shuffle hustle going on between crazy vigilante, high profile child abuse hunters and whistleblowers with conjecture, exaggeration, finger pointing too. Interesting. On another note, everyone needs to check out PBS Frontline, The Age of AI. The Age of AI. Okay, we'll do. All right, I think that's going to about wrap it up for today. I've been going on here for an hour. So I'll be back tomorrow. If I hear any more news or information about the fluoride vote here in Fredericksburg, if anything strange and unusual comes up, I'll let you know. But for now, it's bottled water and filters and back to the work. Back to this work. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all your support. I know some of you donated, and your donations did not go to waste. We spent every single penny, and thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And onward and forward. Use your head to discern what's real. Your heart two-step when it's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.